b, t, d. These are letters, and if you combine them, you get words such as word, asphyxiate, just kidding, because in order for a combination of letters to be considered as words, they need to follow a strict, societally agreed upon set of rules. Different groups of people find different letter combinations to be appropriate. This is how languages were born. Now that we have words, we can communicate efficiently. Just kidding, we need to combine those words into... Let it go. Once we were finally able to make coherent sentences, that's when we started really getting shit done. Some scientists say that language is the main reason why humans became the dominant species on Earth. From this point on, there was no more disarray or conflict because now we could clearly understand each other. Invent squiggly ink patterns to represent sounds. Bam, you just unlock the power to store knowledge. One person's thoughts and feelings through the vessel of paper and ink can be transported through time indefinitely. Well, unless shit like this happens, but we've got pretty good at preventing that. Whether you want to learn about the depths of our reality, religion, or your own minds, there's something out there for you. Or even if you just want to be entertained by the greatest storytellers that have ever walked the earth, the world is yours. So why the fuck are you watching YouTube? Anyway, most of my intellectual life I've hated reading. This stems from the fact that in school I was always told what I had to read, and even when I had zero motivation, I had to force myself to get it done. This approach made me look at reading as a chore, but luckily a few years ago I got back into reading and I realized how horrible this way of thinking is. Not only should you read what you want, but you should feel free to switch books whenever you feel like it. Committing to only one book at a time is shooting yourself in the foot. Even though the person on the left is heavily relying on motivation, they will always have a book to read depending on their mood. And for this reason, although it may sound counterintuitive, the person who relies on motivation will actually get further in the long run. And for sure, even this way he'll miss some days, or he'll start reading some days and just not feel like it and stop. But over a long time, he will without a doubt get more done than the person relying on discipline. Not to mention that in this example, the person actually stays disciplined, which is a lot easier said than done. If you struggle to stay consistent with reading, it's probably because your dopamine system's fucked. If you're getting high amounts of dopamine from activities like eating cake and playing video games, no wonder your brain isn't pushing you to read more. So try to replace these with less dopaminergically rewarding activities. This way, if reading is the most fun part of your day, your brain will automatically encourage you to do more of it. The Lindy effect says the longer it's been around, the longer it will persist. This means when you choose a book, it's best to judge it on how popular it's been in the past rather than how popular it is right now. If a book has stood the test of time, it's very unlikely that it will become outdated anytime soon. Books like these, for example, probably aren't even at their peak of popularity just yet, even though they've been around for almost 2,000 years. This is because these books teach us lessons, and no matter how much we advance societally or technologically, these lessons will always remain true because they are based in reality. However, if a book just blew up in popularity recently, it might become unpopular just as fast. This is because these type of books often write trends or are just worse versions of books that have already been written. With that said, not all modern books are cash grabs and useless. Some books actually hold a lot of value to them. The point is, it's hard to tell whether they will or will not stand the test of time. That's why if your primary objective is self-education, older books will always be your best bet. But reading takes a long time. Well, that's the point. The more time your brain spends soaking up the knowledge, the better understanding you'll have of the topic. And if you get to a part that you already have a great understanding of or you simply don't care about, you can just skim it. The truth is, apart from bragging rights and PTSD you got from school, you have no obligation to finish books you're not interested in. So you're better off just skipping to the part that you actually care about. You're not going to get quizzed on this knowledge. Plus, the main reason for this happening is that you're not engaged with the material in either thought or emotion. It shouldn't come as a surprise that when you're bored, your brain seems to focus on other things and forget the text you're currently reading. So in essence, just skip to the interesting stuff and your comprehension skills will also get better. But if you're not sure if a chapter is worth reading or not, or you're just going over a boring part of a fiction book, you should probably know how to speed read. Stare at this point. Even though you were staring at the center of your screen and I showed you a text that took up almost the entirety of it, you understood it instantly. This proves two things. Firstly, that you have a peripheral vision. This basically means that you might be only looking at one specific point, but your brain automatically comprehends the stuff that's around it. And the second thing is you don't really have a choice whether or not you want to understand that stuff. By the time that you can make that conscious thought, your brain has already comprehended what it sees. This is why when I write text like this, your subconscious already understood it. You have no choice. Full speed reading is basically exploiting these two principles. You may not have realized, but when you're reading, you're not actually going in a straight line as you would have imagined. Your brain is jumping from fixation point to fixation point, already exploiting peripheral vision. But we can make this more effective. Instead of going from one end of the page to the other, draw two imaginary lines a bit more inward. Only move your vision between these two lines. If this is a bit hard for you, go a bit more outward, but if you want to go faster, go a bit more inward. Keep in mind that the faster you're going, the more you're leaving your brain to guess. This might lead to you not getting 100% of the material that you're reading. That's why I only recommend this when you're reading a boring part or you're not sure if you want to read it fully and thoroughly. As we established earlier, if you want to get a good understanding of what you're reading, make sure to dedicate adequate time to it. Goodbye.